everybody, it's your favorite barroom psychiatrist, Ralphie the Drunk. And we're here with another episode where we're pretty much gonna call a superhero a basket case. Today's a very, very, very special episode because we're gonna hit somebody that's near and dear to Pocan Joe's heart. Why? 'Cause I kind of like watching him cry. It makes me laugh on the inside. Ha 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 ha. Take that, Pocan Joe. All right, we're going to talk about Captain America. Yes, the Mr. America himself, the pinnacle of all things American. He's more majestic than the Statue of Liberty giving a hand job to a bald eagle. That's right, he's more American than that. You can't beat it. However, reading through the comic books and watching him on TV, he's a basket case like everybody else. So let's break it down for the purposes of this video and how much is going on with him. We're not going to break down all the symptoms of all the diagnosis as it comes out. We're just going to hit the ones that are mostly pertain to him, because a lot of these things have a lot of symptoms to them. But rest assured, according to the DSM-5, he suffers from these, and you'll see the examples as well. Well, first, a little background on Captain America. He basically punched Hitler in the face and won World War II. That's pretty much it. They don't teach that in the history books. They really should. But he actually did do that in the comics. His comic book debut was in Captain America #1 in 1941. In Timely Comics. They later became Marvel Comics, I think. Marvel. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, the very first thing we need to point out is, yes, Captain America suffers from depression. The Center of Disease Control defines depression as having these symptoms. We'll break these down really quick, but the rest of them we'll just label off. Basically, the symptoms of depression, according to the DSM-5, are depressed, imagine that, or a saddened state or mood. Diminished. No, I'm not skipping. I'm having trouble talking. Diminished interest in activities that once brought you pleasure, weight and gain and or loss. Psychomotor functions like shaking your leg a lot or twitching of a hand or something along those lines. Fatigue, you're always tired. Inappropriate guilt, and that's usually the one that gets everybody. And of course, difficulty in concentrating, because if you constantly feel guilty, you can't really put much else in your mind. If we look at Captain America, we can already know, if you watched an Avengers movies, which one he suffers from. Did you actually see him do anything fun that once gave him a good time? I think dancing was a thing. There was no sexual libido to him whatsoever. And of course, he had trouble sleeping a lot, as heard when he was once asked, "Are you going to sleep?" And he's like, "No, I've been frozen for 70 years. I think I slept enough." That's not how that works. The DSM-5 ultimately expresses 4 of these symptoms can classify as depressed. But depression is just the top of the iceberg on this one. No pun intended, talking about Captain America. One of the major things that he really suffers from is self-hatred, or self-loathing as it's sometimes described. This can be very serious, and actually a depression is a symptom of it. Either in the attempt to punish themselves for various reasons. There's generally 11 symptoms to this. You want to be punished. Your feeble attempt to gain worth in other people's eyes. People who suffer from self-loathing will often sacrifice themselves in numbers of different ways. One being isolation. You ever notice that the only time Captain America is really hanging out with everybody, besides the one time he tried to pick up Mjolnir in the movie, is when they're actually talking about work? Yeah. Also, they're generally prone to relationship sabotage. Remember that almost affair that he had with the young lady that lived across the hall? Yeah. They don't deserve love or beauty or kindness is generally the feeling, and they kick themselves in the gut. Notice how Captain America always puts himself out there in front of everybody else, and sometimes it doesn't seem very necessary, but yet he does. Much like what I do Halloween night. There was a guy, he was flirting with a girl, and I was like, no, 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 I don't want to do that to her. I'm sure I'm a lot cleaner. But all kidding aside, the biggest thing is obviously, and it's probably even a key phrase today, he suffers from post traumatic stress syndrome or disorders. Disorder didn't mean syndrome. Oh, I need to do better at this. Anyway, it's a disorder that develops in a person who has experienced shocking, scary, or dangerous events. I'm going to go ahead and check positive on all three of those when it comes to Captain America, whether it be in the comic books or even in the movies or even that really bad TV show from the 90s. Oh, it was so bad. Anyway, negative thoughts about oneself or the world around it distorts feelings like guilt or blame. We constantly see this with Captain America. Even in the comic books today, like he's more of a I don't know how to describe him. He's more of a mentor to other people than he is an actual superhero in most cases. Coates, I'm talking to you. Anyway, loss of enjoyable activities is also a common trait to PTSD related traumatic, uh, even to the point of self sacrificing. Now, here comes the shocker, and here's the one you can get mad about. He also has a hero's complex. This is a compulsion to help others and make the world right. Now, this sounds like a good thing. You could be thinking this all the time. You'd be like, well, I suffer from that too. Well, this is to the extreme. Although it's not an official diagnosis or disorder or disease, there is increasing numbers of this happening in the United States, more especially. Uh, many, many people that try to be the hero are often putting themselves in very dangerous situations. I think we can check positive on that as well when it comes to Captain America. Always the one that has to go in through the door first. Always the one that can do this all day. It's scary. Now, I'm not saying that he's a bad guy and he shouldn't do that, but to the extent that he does, yeah, I think we can, again, check positive on that. Also, this can also be noted as an associated with zoological altruism. It's weird. It's instinctive, corporative to any degree of behavior. That's detrimental to the individual. In other words, they would rather place themselves in harm for no good reason. Here's a better example. Let's say you walking up to a crosswalk and you've had a particularly rough night at the local bar and you're all like, woohoo, I'm having a good time. And then all of a sudden you see a lady and she's trying to cross the road. And you're like, oh my God, I need to get her out of the road. She's walking briskly and normally and the light's flashing. So you run over there and you start pushing her to get her across the road. However, you never checked to see if there was any real danger around whatsoever. Or worse, there was a danger you couldn't stop, but still throwing yourselves out there. This is dangerous. Sacrificing yourself for others is a very noble trait, and I don't want to take that away from anybody. But also, randomly throwing your life away is not healthy either. Sorry. All in all, Captain America, all kidding aside, is probably the one thing that binds us together and says, there's a guy I want to be. Noble, stoic, brave, even. But at the end of the day, to what sacrifice are you willing to give for to be that? That would be horribly. Because think about what you're ultimately leaving the people that are closest to you, that know you and love you and want you around and that actually need you. So at the end of the day, yeah, you can argue perspective, but let's be honest, nobody should want to die. This is just ridiculous. I'm sorry, this one's a little deeper than I actually expected. I'm still trying to get the tears out of my eyes. But also a very important message. First, we here at the Pocan Joe channel, and myself more particularly, want to thank all you veterans out there as Veterans Day is coming up. Your service and sacrifice, and the time you spent away from your loved ones to go fight the good fight. We appreciate it. And if any of these symptoms may have seemed like something you may be going through, well, you owe it to yourself, your family, your loved ones, and even your country to get the help that you need. So please seek that out. Almost every zip code has some sort of office of mental health or human services where you can get the help even for free. So please seek that help. We like you, and I hope to meet you sometime. I might be getting thrown out as you're coming in, but I'll still salute you because you're a hero in my book. All right, guys. I know this one wasn't as funny as the other ones, but I hope you learned something. And I need to finish my drink and go to bed. All right, guys. Bye.